I didn't think that we would see a going second Dragunity list finding success out here, but we've made it. And we even have a, yes, Machina with triple skill drain for you guys today. Be like the 33.8% of you guys have not hit the living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so we can get further beyond into 102,000. So the first list we're going to be looking at here was a going second blind Dragunity list. Now, James Nash sent this over and said, hey, I've had a lot of success with going second Dragunity. And I was like, well, that's such a strange deck to be having a lot of success with locally. And I think it goes to show that the boards that this deck can generate, I think, one, you gotta have a big brain to play this deck, in my opinion, alright? I don't know Dragunity combos to save the life of me, but I think once a deck like this kind of goes off, I mean, especially when you have something like Dragunity Whirlwind that you'll just be able to resolve and just punish your opponent, it's really good. I mean, literally, the amount of board breakers and hand traps that are present in this deck definitely goes to show that you can get a lot of power and things going here, and what's your opponent gonna do? So we actually play one copy of Aether, the Evil Empowering Dragon, one copy of Alpha, hey, free special summon that bounces and it can redeploy itself. I'll take it. We have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Yeah, yo, hand traps. We have one copy of Zephyros the Elite, one copy of Armagram, one copy of Leviathan, and then we have one copy of Mistletoe, two copies of Chaos, one copy of Dux, triple copies of Legatus, one Phalanx, triple copies of Remus, two copies of Senatus. I don't know why I was thinking Senatus there for some reason, guys. We have two little baby rocks. Just keep in mind that this is not a once per turn. Every time that you trigger interaction with this, bounce special, bounce special, bounce special. Yeah, it's busted. We have one Call by the Grave, triple copies of Dragon Ravine, one copy of Dragunity Glow, triple copies of Dragunity Whirlwind, triple copies of Forbidden Droplet, triple copies of Lightning Storm, two copies of Pot of Prosperity, and then we have triple copies of Infinite Permanence here, wrapping up the main deck. Down here in the extra deck, we have one Heretic Heavenly Spheres, one Rum Rum, one Boral Sword, one Gustav Max, one Heretic Dragon King Atum, one Trident Dragion. Holy crap, I haven't seen some of these guys in forever. We have one copy of Ariana, two copies of Gatorg, two copies of Barca, one Ascalon, one copy of a Red Hair, one Crystal Wing, and then we have one Borreload Savage Dragon here, wrapping up the extra deck. Side deck here we have one DD Crow, one Effect Veiler, one Nibiru, triple copies of Cosmic Cyclone, triple copies of Crossout Designator, two copies of Dragunity Glow, one copy of Harpy's Feather Duster. We have one copy of the Dragunity Obliterate. I just want to call this the Obliterate trap card, but it's not actually its name. We have one Evenly, and we have one copy of Red Reboot here. Wrapping up a very interesting Dragunity list. I also like the fact we have the Crossout Designator in here. So if we go first or something and we're like worried about board breakers, we literally just cross out and move on along with our day. How many times have you guys crossed out a Forbidden Droplet because your opponent didn't discard the spell card? I wonder. Next up here is a Machina strategy actually focusing on what we do best, which is skill drain. Because, you know, Citadel can just tribute itself, and then it resolves none on the field, boo-boo. So, like, what's your opponent supposed to do? I also see that we have the Lord of the Heavenly Sky Prisons in here, so we can kind of mess around with the opponent a little bit. Nice one of Royal Decree down here. Very interesting ratios for this. So we have triple copies of Gear Frame. So this will be our basic searcher here. We're not even playing Metal Cruncher. Okay. We have two copies of the class Spare, two copies of Citadel, triple copies of Aerator, two copies of Fortress, one Peacekeeper. That's interesting. Then we have one big, bad, cool, amazing, this is the deck's essential win con, effectively, Ruin Force. Then we have one Resevenger, two copies of Lord of the Heavenly Sky Prison, with one Ecclesia. So basic stuff here. We also have triple copies of Redeployment, two copies of Nadir's Servant, one copy of Pot of Desires, one Card Demise, one Call by the Grave, and one Harpy's Feather Duster. And then we have two copies of Machina Overdrive, triple copies of Solemn Reich, triple copies of Skill Drain, triple copies of Dogmatica Punishment, and two copies of Ice Dragon's Prison here, ramping up the main deck. Down here in the extra deck, we have two copies of Sky Thunder Zeus. Alright, we have one Juggernaut Libby, one Sky Palace Gingdari, one Gustav Max, one Super Dora, and then we have one little Dreadnought lad. Then we have one Gaia Saber, one Luna, with one Cleafor Genius, 2 copies of Wind Pegasus Agnesser, and triple copies of an Intis. Side deck here we have one more Ruin Force, one Gamma Seal, triple Token Collector, 2 copies of Dark Ruler No More, 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, triple copies of Dimensional Barrier, 2 copies of Anti-Spell Fragrance, and 1 copy of Royal Decree here. Wrapping up another interesting take on what you can do this format. Like I said, don't underestimate a deck that can produce large boss monsters. Like 3K and 45 or 4600 are not numbers that you can scoff at here. And then every turn you can just protect your skill drain. Like, what's your opponent supposed to do when they can't deploy things onto the field and you just have something bigger than what 95% of the modern era Yu-Gi-Oh can deal with? Yeah, I understand perfectly why this deck can do well. Next up here is Luna-Light Tri-Brigade. I really wanted to include one of these decks because you don't get the chance to kind of see a lot of what Luna-Lights can do in this format. With the unrestriction of Tiger here, it should have went to 1 in the first place. I think Konami was a little bit afraid of what this deck could do. This little package just gives you a little bit more spamability. I mean, it gives you a searcher for, you know, your 1 of Tenki. Is it amazing busted? No, but I think it's a cool option that a lot of decks can kind of mess around with in the Tri-Brigade department, just to have a little bit of fun with some former engines. So we have 1 copy of Zephyros the Elite, 2 copies of Mothman at level 4 free discards. Pretty good. We have 1 Jackalope, 2 copies of Ghost Ogre, 1 copy of Emerald Bird, triple copies of Kaleido Chick, 1 copy of the Luna-Light Tiger, 2 copies of Yellow Martin, triple copies of Nibiru, triple copies of Gamma, triple copies of Froctal, 2 copies of Karis, 2 copies of Kit, 2 Nerval, and 1 Driver Lad. And then we have 1 copy of Tenki, 1 Foolish Barrel, triple copies of Foolish Barrel goods. You better be playing these to drop the perfume, because that or the Serenade Dance. We also have 2 copies of Imperm, 1 copy of Serenade Dance, and 1 copy of Revolt, because literally just resolving 1 Revolt should just get you to where you need to be. We have 2 copies of Shirog, 1 copy of Rugal, 2 copies of Frigette, 1 copy of Bearbroom, 1 Owl Mirage, the 1 Appo, the 1 copy of Double Dragon Lords, 1 Access Machine, the 1 Force Strix, the 1 Nightmare, the 1 Sky Thunder, the 1 Tiger King, and 1 Abyss Dweller. Side deck here we have, of course, 2 copies of Alpha, the Master of Beast, triple copies of Lancia, 1 Pinkertops, triple Drone Lockbird, 1 Tornado Dragon, triple copies of Cosmic Cyclone, 1 Harpies Feather Duster, and 1 copy of Red Reboot here. Wrapping up, Tri-Brigade, I'm Beast Warrior. It all fits into the theme that you have here. And I think that this deck is very, very, very far off of the rails from what we would consider like the absolute best meta here. But, alright. And the last list here I wanted to show for this video, this was actually something that Sparta King posted. And this is basically a roadmap to how you can kind of have an idea of what you want to do for DDDs in this format. I don't currently have like a crazy cool combo sheet for this. That's what Luna-Brigade is for, but I figured I'd post this as well just so you guys can kind of have a little bit of a roadmap to what you might want to consider messing around with for DDD. So we have 2 copies of Berfelmet, 1 copy of Cerberus, triple copies of Griffin, 2 copies of Lamia, 2 copies of Necro Slime, 1 Orthros, triple copies of Copernicus, triple copies of Savant Kepler, 1 copy of Thomas the Tank Engine, triple copies of Swirl Slime, 1 DD Vice Typhoon, 1 Apocalypse, 2 copies of Ragnarok, and 1 Zero King Rage. And then we have 1 Allure Darkness, 1 Call by the Grave, triple copies of Cosmic Cyclone, triple copies of Dark Contract with a Gate, 1 Swamp King, 1 Foolish Barrel, 1 for 1, 1 Upstart. Then we have 1 Headhunt and 1 copy of Dark Contract with the Eternal Darkness. Then we have 1 Siegfried, 2 copies of Flame King Genghis, 1 Super High King Genghis, 1 D-Arc, 1 copy of Kaiser Ragnarok, Kaiser Little Ragnarok guy, 1 Marksman King Tell, 1 King Kaiser, 1 Kali King Yuga. Then we have 2 Doom Machina, 2 Ribble copies of Gilgamesh here. Wrapping up, just something I wanted to share with the community. I found this very interesting, at least as a very good starting point. So we'll have to wait and see kind of how things shape up here, because I'm sure DDD is going to have a good chunk of success once more players kind of get their hands on the deck and start messing around with things. So guys, what do you think about these lists? Is there anything here that kind of tickles your fancy that you want to mess around with? Guys, please leave a comment about, tell me what you guys think. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content, and I will see your beautiful faces back here later on today with some more cool awesome content. You guys stay safe out there, alright? Peace out, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.